Hi guys, this is Klazard. I've got the irrepressible Rise alongside me, and we are doing the MSL Round of 16 Day 1, the Avalon MSL. I gotta tell you, I like this intro. I think it looks cool. The players look badass, and that logo looks a little bit like a Transformers logo for some reason. I don't know why. We're gonna be doing the next game right now. This is gonna be Zero versus Pure on Heartbreak Ridge, and I'm sure Rise and I are both very excited to do this commentary.
You're damn right I am, man. This is actually, I gotta say, Zero's one of my more favorite players these days. He's very, he looks so unassuming, you know, and yet he's a powerhouse. He's a powerhouse Zerg that is just up and coming these days. He reminds me of Jaedong in the way that he seems to be up and coming back when Jaedong was up and coming. However, he lacks the hungry face of Jaedong, you know, that you see every time when Jaedong plays. He's like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna rip your head off. Whereas Menso is like this little kid who's just, you can barely even tell he's playing StarCraft, you know, no emotion. He looks so gentle and timid, and then he comes out and he rips your head off, and it's just very exciting. But talk about this match a little bit. You know, there's actually the slightest bit of recent history between these two, where Zero actually played against Pure on Heartbreak Ridge, which, believe it or not, is exactly what he's doing right now against Pure. And I can only assume that this is going to be a great match. And maybe there's a little bit of revenge going on here, because Zero won that match. Spoiler or not, 5 days ago, Zero won that match against Pure on Heartbreak Ridge, and so Pure's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure here.
Zero.
And yeah. So me and Klazar were actually talking about before how we both kind of like this map, but also this map is slightly becoming more and more Zerg favored. So I don't know, Klazar, you think those two factors in particular are going to play into the fact that Zero probably has a little bit of an edge here? Not only that, but statistically, if you look at their records, he has another advantage. Do you think this is just a hand-it-to-me game for Zero, or does Pure stand a chance?
Yeah, we've just got, well, actually, to be honest, I think Zero, I don't think it's a hand-it-to-me game, but I would definitely give Zero the advantage, and if I was a betting man, I would be betting on Zero to take this game. We've got Pure at the 3 o'clock position in brown. He's a Protoss player, and Zero is blue. And yeah, Pure just sending out his first pro, probably put that pylon down and then set off to scout, and indeed he's going to put that pylon down now. Yeah, I've got to tell you guys, and I'm just going to give a count for syncing purposes. It is at 56 seconds right now. Zero has been on a streak lately. I remember, if you look at his overall statistics, they can be a little bit deceptive, because actually recently, I believe out of the last 8 games, out of the last 11 games he's played, he's won 8 of them versus Protoss and only lost 3. And included in that is an immense recently, which will be spoiling recent games for you guys. If you want to watch them beforehand, go for it, versus Bisu, and that was huge. And Zero has also been very exciting. I gotta agree with Rise that I find, and Zero's put that spawning pool down. Looks like he's gone for an overpool this time around. I've got to agree with Rise that Zero is definitely one of the more exciting players. He's definitely bringing back the evil we enjoy in Zerg, the pure menace, because he just tortures his opponents with his queens. And interestingly enough, in an interview recently, Zero said that he is known as the young prince and he likes queens. Read into that. But yeah, Zero definitely favored. Pure with, of course, only a 40% overall win rate versus Zerg, so that's nothing to write home about.
That's awesome, man. I don't even know if I should go there with that joke or not, because he's just leaving himself wide open for other things other than the awesome use of queens as Zerg. But whatever. Let's just let's try to keep our heads in the game here. Looks like Pure's going to scout out what's going on. He's going to open up with a forge straight into his Nexus. So he's going to try to play the economic game a little bit. That is a standard response to what we're seeing from Zero, even though he's got some links coming out now. It's going to be a while before they can get there, so he'll have a cannon up with plenty of time to spare. Zero scouting this as well, so Zero probably going to just try to take out that scout of Pure so he doesn't get too much information. But, you know, it'd be interesting to see if Zero decides to go for either a 3-hatch build, or, you know, he could put the early pressure on, because, you know, the interesting thing about this map is the fact that it's got the backdoor with the mineral patch that you can mine out. And so, you know, if Zero opted to, he could try to mine that out, and because there are no fighting units for Pure, he could actually force him to build a pylon and a cannon, or an extra cannon or something like that. But it looks like he's actually going to head straight down, and look at this. Pure actually putting a pylon up right in the middle of his base, middle of his front door to block, because maybe he thinks that there's a run-by going down, and he's only got one cannon up and ready. So he's got to prepare for that a little bit more. So already, I don't know, it looks like Zero might be throwing him off a little bit, but I think Pure is going to be fine. He's got his gateway up. He's going to start making a zealot. And really, Zero's not going to be able to do anything from that standpoint. He's not going to be able to break that wall. He'd lose every single ling, except for maybe one if he tried that. So he's not going to go anywhere with that. In the meantime, he's putting up 3 hatcheries himself. So it looks like we're going to see the typical 5-hatch build from Zero. But last time I thought I was going to see that from him when he played Bisu. I didn't. So, you know, we'll have to see if Zero decides to play some interesting play. And, you know, maybe we'll see if he's the prince who likes queens in this game.
Yeah, and if you look at those statistics, 87% of fans favor Zero's victory in this. But actually, Pure has done a couple of things that are really clever here. First of all, once he scouted that overpool, he put that Nexus down before he put any photon cannons down. Whereas I think when Bisu was playing, he put the photon cannon down first. And secondly, by using that pylon in a blocking position, he was actually able to save minerals by only having to put the 1 photon cannon down. Usually, again, when you see a Zerg go an overpool or 9 pool, oftentimes those early are there specifically not only to deny the scout to the Protoss player, but to pressure them into putting that second photon cannon and wasting those extra minerals. So Pure has given himself a slight advantage in doing that by going for that build. It'll be interesting to see how Zero responds Stargate and Citadel going down for Pure. But those players have to play pretty much perfect StarCraft when they do this sort of thing, when they go for this sort of build, and I will be excited to see, or interested to see, if Pure tries to do some harassment. He's managed to sneak a probe around as a scout, so he should be able to sneak in and get a scout at Zero's base, and Zero's not going to like that because those 6 lings are there specifically to deny that scout. So Pure doing a clever job of sneaking that probe around the rear and getting it back around, and he is going to be able to get the scout, and he's going to be able to get right into, although Zero might get lucky and catch that probe on in the way, he won't see it with the drone. So Pure is going to go and see that Zero's gone straight for the Spire. Zero putting another Hashi down, sending a drone again out to try and block it, but not able to do so. So Pure, with a little bit of clever play so far, he's done a few little things that I'm impressed with. But how is his overall macro game going to be? That's going to be really what decides whether or not he's able to achieve a victory in this game.
Well, funny you mentioned that. I was looking at his Nexus right as you said that, and he wasn't building a probe. Maybe he cut it so he could put down that Templar Archives that we just saw going up, or maybe his macro lacks a little bit. But either way, he is going to get an eyeful of what's going on inside of Zero's base, and that's going to help him prepare for, you know, what his response is going to be basically, or if he can control the tempo of the game a little bit. There's the first Corsair, another scouting unit, of course, where he's doing exactly. Actually, this is something Bisu did exactly in his match as well. I don't know if it's typical for Zerg to put their Overlord there to scout for the mineral patch or what. But each time, Zero has actually lost that Overlord. I don't know if it's typical in his style of play, but it's kind of funny how I've seen that in multiple games, the same exact thing, and that Overlord goes down. There is another Corsair, and it's going to catch an Overlord at the top middle, actually. So Zero could be potentially losing 2 Overlords very early on. Scourge is popping out right now, though, and a Hydralisk Den out. But can he get to that Overlord in time? It looks like he is going to get there in time and scare off those Corsairs, but, you know, he has lost 1 so far, 1 Overlord so far, and he hasn't been able to do any damage in return to take out those Corsairs. And now we're seeing Pure actually trying to macro up a little bit. There's a Dark Templar as well, so it looks like he's going to try to inflict some damage there. But I got to say, Zero is going to be well prepared for this. He's got a sunken down at each base and plenty of Overlords. And while he doesn't have Hydra and Scourge to defend at each base, he's still going to be able to defend that with the single sunken if no Corsairs join the fight. And wow, he's actually pumped out a bunch of Muto, which isn't typical for this build. People usually only do that when they feel that they can have some sort of an advantage, some tech advantage, and catch the other player off guard. But it looks like he's actually going to be able to pay off, and he may catch some Templar out on the field, some High Templar. There's the first one, and he's going to get a Corsair. Oh, that's huge. And he's got a couple more Scourge for the next Corsair, and he's going to be able to defend that DT rush. So that's going to put him in a great position as we go into the mid-game.
Yeah, and Pure, meanwhile, coming in with his Dark Templar, trying to harass at the extractor of the 7 o'clock base of Zeros, but Zero, meanwhile, continuing to pound away at that probe line at the natural. He's trying to take that extractor down. It is out of range of the Sunken, so if he manages to take that extractor down, that will slow his opponent's gas a little bit, but he's losing a lot of probes at his natural expo, and he really cannot afford that. He's managed to take the extractor down. The extractor dies. One of the DTs is killed. The second DT just about gets away, but you feel that Zero has come out on top there, and Pure totally did not expect, and I'm surprised that he didn't. He saw the Spire, and he didn't expect the Mutalisks, or if he did, he wasn't prepared for them. I think Zero's timing was impeccable there, because those Mutalisks arrived before Pure got two High Templar out. Pure had just gotten his second High Templar out, and before he had a chance to even merge them into Archons, he got taken down. On the other hand, Pure might have been deciding to save them anyway in order to morph them, and meanwhile Lurkers coming out for Zero. Pure might have decided to save those High Templars anyway to accumulate that energy up for storms, but I've got to say that timing was perfect by Zero to take those High Templar. And it looks like that that pylon is going to get taken down because it's actually blocking for Zero. Scourge coming in, trying to just do some scouting and do some damage. One thing that Pure has done again that Bizu didn't do is he's continued to build those Corsairs. He's not surrendering air superiority to Zero, and I think that's a wise move. He doesn't want to surrender air superiority. Meanwhile, Zero looks like he's ready to take that ridge. Doesn't want what happened to Bizu to have to him to get caught unawares by some Lurkers come in play in a fairly advanced position, and that Zealot army is going to get pushed right back, and he's got Hydras to support as well. So Zero seems to be doing everything right here, and I'm just wondering what Protoss need to do, Rise, to be able to counter this sort of build that we're seeing from Zerg players lately with the 3 hatchery expand. I think the fast expand Protoss build seems to be just very strongly defeated by this build that's been developed, especially on Heartbreak Ridge. And I wonder if Protoss players don't need to start thinking perhaps out of the box a little bit and try to do something different, because unless they play the perfect game of StarCraft and do a lot of harassing and good balloon, and that there isn't too much the Protoss player can do about it, although maybe Zero position, but Zero is getting stronger and stronger by the second.
Well, if I could tell you the answer to that, I would be a professional StarCraft player in Korea, most likely. Considering these guys haven't figured it out yet, I don't know the answer. I'm wondering, the natural course of things is that someone comes out with a very dominant build, but eventually, because of the balance of StarCraft, the reason the game is so successful, someone finds a counter to it eventually. And I think Zerg players in general have found that something that works against this, and even still, if it's not executed properly, it's not going to work. And big battle here for air superiority, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of Corsairs being taken out, and Pure coming in, actually trying to take out now the 4th base going down for Zero, and he may be successful. He's got a lot of Zealots on that. No, he backs off at the last second, and now there are so many Lurkers there that there's no way that those Zealots are going to get out of here alive. Yeah, heavily damaged, all taking a lot of spikes up the wazoo, and so they're not going to last for much longer. And really, again, until the Protoss now figure out a new build, like you were saying, they're not going to have much success in against the really top tier Zerg players like Zero, like Jadong, like whoever, Savior. I don't know. I'm going to throw that one out for Klazar just to make him feel better. And it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, and Zero is really struggling right now. Pure is really struggling. Zero putting the lasso around the neck and pulling it tight. He's getting those Lurkers into position. Decent attack by Pure. He got a great storm off and caught a lot of Zero's units in that storm, and that's going to force Zero back up to his own ridge, where his reinforcements are waiting, and he should be able to defend that comfortably, assuming no storm goes off there again. Another good storm by Pure. He's doing a good job with those storms. Another great storm. Catches a bunch of Hydras. Another great storm. This is almost some perfect storming by Pure. This is almost Bisu level storming. One Hydra is trying to chase those High Templar down. That's going to get picked off. So Zero inflicting significant, Pure inflicting significant damage on Zero's forces. But Zero's economy is in such a strong state. Look at it. He's now got his 6 o'clock up and running as well, and Pure is just starting up his 1 o'clock. And Pure, I think, is a little bit late on that. And he's lost a lot of his own army as well, even though he inflicted good damage with those storms. Zero wasn't really great at dodging that. It looks like, meanwhile, Zero is might be going in for a drop here with a couple of Lurkers and things in those 2 Overlords, and that main isn't very well defended. Oh, he's not. He's just looks like he's just taking that expansion and perhaps putting some units there to defend the 5 o'clock position. Pure once again pushing in. He's got a very small force, and he's just trying to keep Zero off balance and try and fight and pull him to and fro and get some storms off and continue to whittle his forces down. And he's doing it successfully, but I still feel that Zero is in a very strong position. I personally think that there seems to be a lot of head banging that goes on in pro StarCraft. on this whole issue of strategy and builds, where you know, by now Protoss should really have figured out that on this map you need to do something against Zerg, but yet they seem to just continue to bang their head against that wall, and inevitably it's your head that's going to crack before the wall, and I'm surprised that more players don't try and innovate. Now again, I guess I'm being a little bit unfair because the statistics aren't that crazy. It's like 19 to 15 or 14 lose this game, but the last few games I've seen, the Protoss have really struggled to counter this build when a good player has executed it. Zerg players executed it. But of course, a lot of those extra wins are down to players like Jaedong and Zero, who has been so dominant versus Protoss as well lately. So I guess maybe I'm jumping the trigger a little bit too early here on the issue of balance and build orders.
Yeah, I'd say just a little, only because I know 3 of those, or 2 of those wins, 3 of them, I don't know, are from, like you said, big names like Jaedong. Zero's played other games where he's won on here, so certainly that's going to affect the statistics a little bit. I don't know how much, because obviously Jaedong and Zero lose too, but either way, I think it's still a fairly even map. And look at that, we're going to see some queens after all from the Prince who likes queens, I think is the way you put it. So we'll have to see what he decides to do with that. Last time, against his game against Bisu, he had a very interesting use for it, but that game's still pretty new, so I won't go too far into that game and spoil it for you guys. Either way, we're seeing a really big attack here, and it looks like, you know, Zero's got the high ground. He's got that ridge to his advantage, and I'm surprised that Pure is engaging him. I mean, really, it's not the place for him to engage unless he was coming from the top middle. And there are so many lurkers on there that he can't see, and then he's got the added miss rate against it. It doesn't make sense. And Parasite going off on the Archon, an expensive unit that he's not likely to sacrifice. So Zero using that queen very cleverly to get a free scout, pretty much of where the army is the entire time, unless he decides to split the army. Also, he's got an Overlord at the 12 o'clock position. He's actually going to be able to see that there is a new expansion going up there from Pure, and he may decide to go and kamikaze that with some crazy Zerg units, as he's able to do. Seeing +1/+1 upgrades, both Carapace and Melee, and I think he's got range as well. Meanwhile, we're only seeing +1 weapon upgrade for Pure. So I gotta say that I think that some of the early damage done by the Mutalisk is actually still hurting Pure. He's just now getting onto 3rd and 4th bases, and he was definitely behind for quite a bit, because those Mutalisks did quite a bit of damage. And while he's got good storms, he's only taken out a couple of units here and there. There's 4 units right there he took out with 2 storms. While it's good, it's not good enough, especially... Oh, and look at this huge attack from Zerglings, taking out the 12 o'clock position. And here is the beauty of Cracklings. They can just destroy things. And Pure, you can see he's sweating a little bit here. He knows that now he's got to be on top of his game, because he can't just let Cracklings get all over the place. He's going to have to better defend his position. He's going to have to take a similar position to what Zero's taken on the mirror end of this map, on the top side, to protect as many bases as he can. And now I think we're seeing more and more of the strong position that we were alluding to before, that Zero is definitely in.
Yeah, Pure's got a Dark Archon out as well, and he's going to have to use it to maximum advantage to get anywhere in this game. But that was a brilliant maneuver by Zero, I felt, because Pure was putting pressure on him. He was storming a lot of units, and what Zero's done is he's changed the focus of the battle and put Pure on the back foot with that one attack, and also taken out a lot of Pure's resources by taking out that expansion that Pure was heavily invested in. He lost, he was forced to, I think, at least cancel the Nexus if he didn't lose it outright, and lost 3 or 4 photon cannons as well, and that's just not something that Pure can afford right now. Meanwhile, Zero is also taking that double expansion in the middle of the map. That just shows you, sorry, Zero's taking the double expansion in the middle of the map, which just shows you the level of control that he's able to exert in the game right now. Pure coming in with the Zealots. I think he might be able to take back this expansion. He's got a lot of observers in there, but he really needs to get some storms off, and Zero's doing a good job of pulling back at the right time, but I think Pure is going to be able to push through at this. There's a lot of choke points there. It's quite a narrow corridor, which is ideal for storming. So far, Zero doing a good job of storming. Finally, storms catch all the Hydralisks, and most of the Hydralisks do get taken out, but there's still a lot of lurkers there that are holding the line for Zero. I do feel that, I wonder if perhaps Zero had been a little bit over-ambitious in trying to take it, but he's got such a deep line of lurkers there that it's going to be difficult for Pure to actually clear everything out. He's now got Zerglings and units coming in, and I wonder if this will be a mistake that Zero will regret, trying to fight in that narrow corridor, which is ideal for storming. Masses of Cracklings coming around, lurkers rushing in as well, getting burrowed. The Cracklings completely surround Pure's forces, and I feel that's going to be the game-finishing maneuver, and Pure is just completely outnumbered and just taken down by sheer weight of numbers by Zero. Zero just forcing that, he saves the hatchery as well, and he's pushed Pure back right up into that 12 o'clock base, which is a last desperate stand that Pure is trying to make to defend it. He's got no High Templar left. He's got that Dark Archon, couple of Dragoons, but the Photon Cannons are morphing in. The problem is for Pure is that Zero is going to have his reinforcements up much sooner than Pure is. His production is much higher, and I can tell you one thing, Rise, that Protoss players can do differently on this map or any map, and it looks like a massive drop coming up from Zero as well. He's got about 7 Overlords there, or 8 Overlords, at least filled with units, and he's going to, I think, drop right on top of Pure's main to finish this game. But I can tell you one thing that I haven't seen Protoss players do a lot, even Bisu, that they need to do, and I wonder if it's the map, that's the reason that they're not doing it, which is harass the Zerg economy. Maybe get a couple of High Templar drops going. I don't know why they haven't tried it. I guess they're just worried that Pure's main, and I think Pure is really going to struggle to defend this.
Doom drop incoming. This is the classic definition of a doom drop. I mean, look at that. Oh my god. Zerglings just tearing apart tech buildings and gateways and pylons, and there are lurkers at the front line to stall any units while the Zerglings do the damage in the back end with a couple of Hydras thrown in there for good measure. We've seen oh, and GG from Pure. That was it. He just lost the heart of his tech tree, his heart of his economy. Not that he had any that many more minerals back there, but Zero just ran away with that match. And man, that was a really strong finish to that game. And Zero proving why he's moving to the top. And you're right, there was no harassment done to the economy, and that is what hurt Pure in my mind. Definitely the number one thing. He fell behind in economy early on, and he just never managed to do anything back. I mean, he had those DTs. If he had managed to do some damage with those DTs, I think it would have been a lot more of an even game, and especially with the amount of storms that he was pulling off, he could have even pulled it out. But the fact that he got no harassment down, that is what lost him the game. So I gotta say, hands down to Zero for playing a very strong, solid game and taking that win convincingly.
Yeah, GG. Zero definitely the hero there.
Pure failure.
Impurities. Pure failure. Absolutely. GG.